Hi, I'm Wolfgang Puck, and I'm supposed to talk to you about achieving goals. You know, first of all, you have to set your goal. Then you have to focus on it 100%, because if not, you will go somewhere else. It's really important to be focused, to be patient. Nothing happens overnight. I know for me, the first 10 years was very difficult, and then it got better. I could have jumped ship and become a truck driver. I hope you find your passion in the kitchen and become a great cook, a great chef one day. Without passion, you can't be successful. But passion alone is not enough. You need to focus. You need to focus. That's the most important part. Next to having passion, focus, perseverance. Don't let anybody tell you no. You can do it. You know, you're gonna go through difficult times, bad times, hard times. But just like the world, you know, after a dark night, the sun will come up and you're gonna have a beautiful day. And the same thing is with you in the kitchen. You know, you have to have perseverance. I have a catering company, a fine dining restaurant company, and we have an airport restaurant. So we do also appliances. So it's really up to you what you like. You can become a great caterer, own one of the best restaurants, or be a chef in one of the best restaurants in the world or in the country, or you can do television, which all the young people love today. So, but at the end of the day, you have to learn your profession. To become a professional, it's not overnight. Experience is not bought. Experience you cannot go to college for. Experience you have to spend time experiencing it. So good luck to all of you. If you need a job, call me.
Thank you, Chef Puck, and welcome back to ACF Chefs Forum. I am thrilled today to welcome you to a very special ACF Young Chefs Forum focusing on emerging culinarians. Now, more than ever, it's important for culinarians to connect, to share, and to offer inspiration and mentorship, which is exactly why we are excited to have a great panel of experts here with information just for you, the future leaders of the food service industry. I'm Jackie Pressinger, American Culinary Federation's Director of Strategic Partnerships and the staff liaison for the ACF Young Chefs Club. On behalf of the National Office, I'm delighted to welcome you to today's very special panel discussion. For those of you who are tuning in to today's program, we invite you to participate. We'll be taking questions for our featured guest presenters today, so please use the chat function to collaborate with other chefs and students tuning in, and the Q&A function to pose questions to today's guests. All right, so let's get that conversation going in the chat. Please let us know where you're tuning in from today. And at this time, I'd like to introduce ACF National President, Chef Kimberly Brock Brown, CEPC, CCA, AAC.
Well, happy Saturday. Welcome to our final webinar of the year. I'm so happy to be here and that you took time out of your busy schedules to be here and talk about something that's very near and dear to my heart, mentoring. And it's so important, I think, that we help uplift and encourage our younger or our student population and show them what this education and what this culinary field is all about, you know, and how best practices, best steps, you know, so they don't have the same, you know, steps that we necessarily had to have. You know, education is about learning, but also who you know gets you in the door. And so meeting and networking and mentoring with people who have been there, done that, or are doing that, I think it's key to your success. So if you have somebody to help you, guide you, steer you, lead you in the right direction, right path, it's so vitally important. So welcome, and I appreciate the conversation that we're going to have, and any questions and thoughts that you might have that you could share with others as we go along this way. You know, sharing knowledge is key. So with that, the young man who started all this for us, I'm happy that he's here today. I'm happy that he's doing such a great job as a leader in the Young Chefs Club. Chef Isaiah Girard. Isaiah?
Chefs, good afternoon. Thank you, Chef Kimberly, for that introduction. I'm so happy that all of you guys are here today. So I am the Young Chefs Club president. I am here because of the connections I made throughout this industry. I met a lot of great chefs that helped mentor me and get me to where I am. That was kind of the inspiration behind this webinar, to share the importance of networking in this industry. I've been working in the industry since I was 15. I loved every moment of it. I've been able to grow and learn so much during this industry. So I hope you guys get a lot out of this webinar today. And here is Chef Beatty.
So I would like to welcome everyone as well. Mentoring is such a huge part of the culinary community. It's one of those things that it is an unspoken rule that you kind of pay it forward and you kind of look back and you bring someone along. So I have been blessed to be a part of the ACF for a number of years through my professional and also through my personal journey, that I think those two go hand in hand. And so I want to thank everyone once again for tuning in. I want to introduce two people so they can also introduce themselves. Chef Dina, who has been a phenomenal friend that we've really got a chance to connect as of lately. I would love for her to introduce herself at this time.
Thank you, chefs. So excited to be here. Saturday, any day, we celebrate our own journeys, right? And just who we've become as a result of the mentors that have helped pave the way for us. So I am Chef Dina Altieri. I am currently the Director of Membership Development at the American Culinary Federation. My career started 36-ish years ago, and 23 of those years proudly a member of the ACF. I started out in the back of the house as a baker when I was 16 years old, and my career has taken me through being a passionate line cook at restaurants to being a catering chef, a culinary educator, a mentor, a coach, a certified ACF chef, and on, right? So today I'm just excited that Chef Isaiah invited me to participate, and just really thrilled to be a part of the conversation. Chef Manning.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Ryan Manning. I own a restaurant here in Central Florida, and I'm the Young Chefs Club advisor. And many years ago, I graduated American Culinary Federation apprenticeship program at Colonial Williamsburg. So had a lot of mentors along the way, still do today, and can't wait to talk to you guys more about it.
That is awesome. I just wanted to thank our panel for once again being here. It's like so exciting to have everyone here. So I do want to ask, so right before we came on, Chef Isaiah, like, I think that you're like the babyface assassin. I don't think anyone has seen you coming. So out of you being one of the youngest ones on the panel today, what advice would you give up and coming culinarians of what is meant in your small, short career so far in the professional realm of the impact of having a mentor in your life?
So I definitely think first advice is definitely don't be afraid to take a step of courage and get uncomfortable, because once you pass that boundary of being uncomfortable, so many great things come. And I would say definitely talk to every single chef that you can that has more experience than you, because kind of get a little bit of each, a little bit from their story, and they could share their information with you, and kind of stay in contact with them and use them as your mentor, because at the end of the day, someone knows someone who knows someone. So it's very important to kind of stay connected with those people who have a little bit more experience with you, because you're never too old to learn new stuff, and you're never too young to get in there and try something new. So definitely stick with somebody that really encourages you and inspires you.
Awesome. I love that answer. Wow, that is so great to hear. Chef Kimberly, I do have a question for you in leadership globally. So obviously it's been a huge transition from going from such a small platform of when you just had your business and different things of that nature, but now to a global network. What does that look like from having a mentor, and what has those people poured into you that helped prepared you for your current role that you operate in?
Oh, wow. So mentoring for me, it's a new word for me because I wasn't aware of that word growing into my culinary apprenticeship program. So as an apprentice, the word mentor wasn't something that was bantered about or was spoken of, but I did have chefs that I gravitated towards who were open-minded and willing to teach and talk to a lonely apprentice, right? And then having and seeing the way people behave, the way people acted, the way people showed their professionalism to me and to others along the way, be it at a conference, convention, be it at a session, be it at an education thing that I went to, was also part of my growth, right, of my experiences. And so just having the connections, because I'm a firm believer of who you know gets you in the door, what you know keeps you in the door. And just having the wherewithal, sometimes being the only one in the room, or making sure that I can speak up, step up, and shake a hand and talk to people, and always, getting business cards or leaving my card and being connected with people has been tremendous. Where I can keep friends, make friends, here across the water and on another continent, whatever. It's been tremendously helpful to be able to be open-minded and have a spirit of giving to make that happen for yourself.
I love that. Chef Kim, I think you're always on the radar because you're always thinking about somebody else. Even when you were overseas, you were actually inboxing me different ideas and different things that you saw that could benefit my career. And so I think that's important that as a mentor, that you always are thinking about someone else. But so Ryan, I do have a question for you as a business owner. Now this is a different form because you got to kind of grow your garden because you get a direct impact from what it looks like to mentor mentees. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts about this.
Definitely. So as we're definitely in 2022, it's obviously a challenging year to find employees across the entire United States. And so, so the students that are on this call today, you're already one step ahead of a lot of the industry as far as placing yourself into a quality position. But you almost want to interview the job that you're going into just as much as they're interviewing you. Ask them questions, see who's going to be guiding you through the kitchens, because every single day should be a learning experience. Even to this day, it's funny when I walk into a kitchen now, I don't look at technique as something that's exciting. I look at little tricks, and you'll find that things you'll see. Recently, I was with Chef Pressinger, and we were at the Department of Corrections culinary program here in Florida, and watching these guys optimize the use of the certain specific equipment they had. I learned so much just by their actions. So they've made a wonton cup, for example, using the metal ramekins in the deep fat fryer, and they put a little oil into it beforehand. So even to this day, after 15 plus years in the industry, I watch myself continue to grow. So treat every day like you're learning something. Find your way into unique kitchens, and don't be afraid to move around from one job to another. You just always want to make sure you're not moving too much, or if you are, it's part of that educational experience. Isaiah had a unique position recently where he was able to jump into a kitchen for what, 2 months, I think, something give or take. And I said, okay, on your resume, don't call that a job. Don't call yourself a cook in that position. That was an internship, because that's 2 months. You picked up a lot of great information during that 2-month window, but now that's an internship. Now, if you're still having internships, 2 months internships 10 years from now, you might have a problem on your resume at that point. But don't be afraid to learn and grow and pick up these little opportunities.
I love it. Chef Isaiah, what has been some of the best advice that someone has given you so far? And who was
Definitely, don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to ask questions. It's definitely one of the biggest pieces of advice I got, because as you may have heard the phrase, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So it's very important to kind of always ask questions, and no question is a bad question. It's better to ask and then get the proper information then do it wrong, and something could go wrong. So it's definitely one of the best pieces of advice is ask questions. Don't be afraid to talk. Is definitely a good point of advice. And talking, you get to know different people. You get to, even if you're sitting there doing prep at work, talking to your chef, asking him how he got to his position. That's very, very important to kind of learn their story, and they'll be able to more interested in learning your story if you kind of are curious about them. So talking and staying connected is one of the best pieces of advice I got.
Chef Dina, now I think this is a great question for you, because I think that you have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and that you've been able to connect with so many people. So same question for you. What would you believe is some of the best advice that was given to you?
Yeah, right. That question is like, you could answer that question through Isaiah's lens, and you can, try to answer that question, through my lens. It's hard to pinpoint the best advice. I'd almost answer exactly how future chef Isaiah answered, which is speak up. There is no such thing as a question that is, stupid or useless, because it's important to you. I think for me, early on in my career, I was surrounded by men and women in the industry who kind of empowered me and helped me have a voice. And so I never felt like I couldn't, ask a question and reach out. I would sort of extend that to, Chef Isaiah mentioned, speaking up, talking to the chefs that he's surrounded himself with, but then also paying it forward, I think, has been a huge part of my career, at least in the last, 10 years, which is like, at some point you reach a point in your career where you're maybe done mostly seeking a ton of advice from others, and then you're really like in that giving mode. And I think that's the most special thing that I feel really grateful about in my role now, which is I have the opportunity to advocate and mentor and coach and kind of be a connector for thousands and thousands of chef professionals all over the world. And I think that's a really important point. Like at some point, right, Chef Isaiah, like you're in a point where you're a sponge and you're getting and it's wonderful. But I think what's also cool is now even you're giving, right? You're the president of this Young Chefs Club, providing that connectivity for others like you. So I think at any point in your career, you're a peer to someone and you're a leader to another one. And you always have to recognize the audience. And we're not going to stop learning. We're not going to stop giving. And to some extent, to Chef Manning's point, we're always giving and learning in the same kind of time. So we got to keep it going.
And then if I could add to that as well, like you mentioned, you never know who's watching you. You could be, somebody could be watching you. You could be an inspiration to them. So it's always good to, kind of be on, stay professional and continue on with the standard that you set, because someone is always watching for the good, for the bad, for future opportunity, or for, like I said, somebody may be trying to do what you do. So it's really good to just keep that standard and just be professional.
We do have a couple of questions before I field some more to our panel. Jackie?
Sure. Thank you so much. Yes, and thank you for everyone for entering their questions in. One of the questions is a student is wondering a little bit about Isaiah's culinary journey so far, and sort of his background and how he got to be where he is right now.
Of course. So I actually started at 15 at Edible Arrangements. I was in the front of the house, making smoothies and kind of helping with customer transactions and all that stuff. So then after that, I worked as a busser in a local restaurant. And then kind of after that, the summer after that, I was, kind of looking for a job, but it was really difficult because a lot of jobs, I was 16 at the time, and a lot of jobs don't hire at 16 in the kitchen. So, it took me like 2 or 3 interviews, and then I finally ended up going to a country club, which was my first country club job. And the chef there, he was really a great mentor to me. He said a chef when he was younger, gave him the opportunity as a young chef to get in the kitchen and learn. So he wanted to share that opportunity. So he helped me, and I really loved it. Like he everything I did, he was there to kind of show me the right way. He gave me a lot of creative freedom, and he trusted me with a lot of responsibility. So this really helped me boost my confidence, and kind of made me want to share like this opportunity with other people. And then from there, I kind of moved on to different country clubs, and I did the culinary program in my high school for 3 years. So my first year, I was kind of learning the basics, fabrication and stuff like that. The second year, I kind of dove deeper into like everything cooking. And then the third year, I was doing a work study. So I would go to work half the time and then be at school half the time. And when I was at school, I would do demos and everything like that, kind of help the students out. So definitely continue to stay in the industry, and always be a sponge, like they said, and learn. And then now I am currently at the Culinary Institute of America at the Napa Valley campus. And I'm learning so much here. I'm able to kind of be absorbed in this atmosphere of food with farmers markets everywhere, and being wine country, learning so much. So definitely don't be afraid to take new opportunities, and just stay positive, and have a good mindset, and you'll go far.
Love it. Was there any other questions, Jackie, that was available in the chat?
Yes, Chef. One of the other ones has come in from Chef Sam Spencer. To the ACF National President, what advice would you give to the Young Chefs Club President for growth and longevity throughout his time at ACF?
Keep showing up. Don't stop now. You learn so much from being around other people, and the networking, like I said, being there and being present. So if there's a convention, if you can get there, get there. I remember a couple of years ago, there was a young lady who heard about ACF, wanted to get to the convention, took the train from Atlanta to Orlando, was blown away and became a member. I mean, because she heard and she knew and recognized the opportunity, married with children, she made it happen for herself, right? And so when you see the opportunity, you see even if it's to volunteer, show up with the open mind and spirit of giving. You learn so much, you network so much. Even when it comes down to the competitions that we've done, to compete, that's a whole nother level, a whole nother mindset that you put yourself in. And judges and everybody else who's around recognize that as well. So when you can start recognizing and being around other people who are in this profession but doing other things in this profession, it just puts you in a whole nother level. So show up. If it's you volunteering, then volunteer. If you get paid, that's a bonus. But I'm not saying you work for free for the rest of your life, but I'm saying there are opportunities everywhere that you could show up in culinary, or outside of culinary, representing yourself and representing your brand, because it is really all about your brand and what you do. So keep going forward, keep making friends, keep putting their hand out to learn things and to be a service to others.
Awesome.
Can I add something to that?
Okay.
Just along that same lines of showing up. In my own career, you don't know that your career path, what your career path actually will lead you to. And so I attended a Nation's Capital Chefs Association meeting when I was around Isaiah's age. And all of a sudden, the corporate executive chef of the United States House of Representatives was there. And so I went to the meeting with a job already in my hand, doing it, loving it and everything. But then I had this opportunity to cook President Obama's inauguration and all of those things just by transitioning to a job that I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm going to take this job right now. And that was just talking to him right after the meeting. He stood up mid-meeting and said, "Hey, I'm hiring cooks. Anybody want to come work at the house?" And so I did. Just no plan of doing that whatsoever. And it sent my career path down a route that's put me where I am today, and a lot of exciting opportunities along the way. So Isaiah just a few weeks ago didn't know about the apprenticeship program at the Greenbrier. And so he was planning to do his bachelor's program, which he might still very well do at the CIA. But now he knows that there's this other opportunity for him to go towards a Greenbrier program, which is a hands-on 6,000 hours in the kitchen program over 3 years, where the hotel covers all your expenses. They actually pay you to work there on the job, and it becomes a very hands-on university system. And because he showed up and built those connections, now he's got this opportunity presented to him. And just anybody on this call today, you've shown up. So now you're learning things too. So it's just be ready for whatever life throws at you and be ready to make a change. Like if you don't need a set path, especially in our industry. It's such an amazing industry that even earlier this year, I went on a cruise ship with Virgin Cruise Line, and I loved the food and beverage program that they had going on. So I'm like, okay, how do I get in there and get involved with these guys? Because they're doing some cool, trendy stuff. And I got 50 million other things going on, but that's a cool path that could present itself to anybody as just one example. So coming from a hotel background into small business, and then looking at consulting and everything else, I mean, the sky's the limits in this industry. You literally can go anywhere in the world.
That's awesome. Was there any other questions, Jackie, before I field some more questions to our panel?
Not at this time, but I'd love to encourage everyone to continue to enter their questions into the Q&A function. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you. Chef Dina, I have to come back to you. So I have to piggyback off my first question that I asked you, but what was some of the worst advice that you were given? And get ready, Kim, because I'm coming your way.
Yeah. Gosh, I think there is the tendency sometimes when you are around other people just in life, people sometimes are a little bit envious, and sometimes envy can rear its ugly head, and they'll give you advice that they kind of maybe are targeting towards, steering you in another direction. So I would say, I was given advice early on in my career, like, why would you go to culinary school? I can teach you everything that you need to know, was probably the worst advice I received from a chef. Like, he knew that I was going to pursue the same culinary school pathway that Isaiah pursued. I'm a CIA grad. So I know the end of the story is I didn't take that advice, right? Which was, you don't need to go to culinary school, stay here with me and I'll teach you everything that you need to know. Obviously, in that particular instance, there's someone who wouldn't have been a great mentor for me, right? In other words, kind of projecting their own maybe envy or whatever issues they had on me. And I was thankfully smart enough to recognize that was somebody who was maybe didn't have the opportunity themselves, and because they didn't have the opportunity themselves, they didn't want me to have that opportunity. So didn't end up working for them anymore, and pursued another restaurant job, and then eventually went to culinary school.
Love it. Chef Kim, how about yourself?
I didn't have anybody in particular tell me specifically don't, can't, whatever. It was more nuanced, it was like the exclusion part of it, or to say something or do more the activity, I think, of the whole thing, where I will always be the only one, or the only pastry, or only female, only person of color. And so you get the idea sometimes that it's not possible, and so it wasn't that somebody said, you can't do this to me. It was just that it wasn't shown to me that I could. And so I did because I wanted to. And so just to have that inner drive, I think, was what has propelled me and has sustained me in this career so far. So I think having sense of self and having also the tools to back that up with, the skills, education, some knowledge, experience, I think has been what has happened best for me. It wasn't any one person. I think it's just been the experience of being the only one, period, which has been the driving force for me.
Understood. This is a question that I want to open up to the whole panel, and is that I want everyone to, because I think this is something that I think gets missed in our world because we do work so many hours and we are consumed. What advice would you give some of our listeners about the balance of your personal life and work life? Let's start with you, Ryan.
So I actually heard this from a chef really at the beginning of my career as well. And I haven't always been the best at it, but he's an older guy and he was probably in his 60s at that point. He said, make sure you wear good shoes, make sure you get your sleep, and make sure you use moisturizer because your skin's going to be all dried up and everything. So like I said, I haven't always been the best with that, but definitely recommend, thinking about your personal well-being, and it gets forgotten a lot. I mean, it's very easy, especially coming from a hotel background. Isaiah and I were just having the conversation the other day that last holiday season was my first holiday season at home in probably 15 or 16 years. So you know, in the hotel world that you're there serving everybody else, and then you'll get in your car after 14 hours that day, and you'll start driving home and just exhausted, and you smelled food the whole day. And so everybody always says, "Oh, I wish I could eat like a chef," but that's the day you're driving through McDonald's. You're just grabbing some fast food on a day that most people are celebrating with friends and family. So, unfortunately, that's the way it is. But you also, especially early on in your career, but you have to find a time to balance that out for yourself. So in my family, we would always celebrate the holidays in January, which is also great because gifts are discounted after the holidays. So I waited until January to buy my parents and my siblings gifts, and that's when we would get together. So just even though the timing might not match up, like a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday industry, make sure you find the time to celebrate and do those things that are important to you and your family, and make sure you value that time, especially with your parents and your loved ones, because we're not all going to be here forever, and you don't want to look back and regret that you didn't take time for your family.
Oh man, that's good. I'm glad that, number one, that you found in that time, and that you found it early, because unfortunately I think a lot of time it has already passed, and it's hard for us to catch up on that. So that's great advice. Chef Isaiah, what would you say about that, about your work-life balance and your professional career?
I would say definitely take care of yourself first, because I've been through many situations where I have put work first, and it's easy to get into that vibe when as a chef you're always trying to do better, you're always trying to get ahead of kind of the crowd and everything. So it's easy to get consumed in work and not think about yourself and about your health. But I actually, during my externship, had to go to the ER because I was dehydrated and not taking care of myself. So it kind of really set me back a little bit. I had to take some time off from work. So if I would have just took a few minutes out of the day, just walk somewhere, get a quick drink of water, eat something really quick. I know it's really tough in this industry to get breaks and everything, but taking time for yourself and eating a little something definitely is super important, because a little bit can go a long way. A little bite to eat can push you, help you even be more successful while you're working, because when you're hungry, your mind is on food. It's not really on what you're trying to do. So it's easy to ignore the hunger. It's easy to ignore all that stuff when you're not got the adrenaline rush and everything. But it's super important to take care of yourself and make sure you eat and you hydrate and you drink water. It's super important. And also it's important to spend time, like Chef Ryan said, with your family and everything when you're off, and obviously take time for yourself, have fun, and then so you could be super productive and super successful at work.
I love it. So you heard it from Chef Isaiah: eat and drink water. That's the key to it. I love it. Chef Dino, what about you? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think it's changed over my career. And I think that's really important to illuminate, is it doesn't have to be nights and weekends. I think sometimes especially when we're in front of maybe a group of culinary students, I think sometimes, right, chefs, we tend to kind of not sensationalize. We feel like it was like a rite of passage that we missed, 9 Christmases or 9, Mother's Days. And I think the big thing that I learned from my community-based work, working with individuals who had a lot of barriers to employment, is do your homework, right? It's not only restaurant work or hotels or catering companies. There are alternative careers that could position you in a place where, if you don't have that desire to, go after maybe a more competitive kitchen, there are alternatives out there for you.
So true.
And I think for me, it's I definitely started my career with a real fire in my belly, and I went after kitchens that I know would be a little harder on me and that would kind of help me build, my profile as a competitive chef. But then as years went on and I got into a serious relationship, things changed for me, and things I got married and things became a little bit, my priorities shifted, I guess is the best way to sort of put that. So even though we look at Chef Isaiah and, just the fire in his belly and all this really great stuff he's doing, I mean, for every Chef Isaiah, there's somebody else that goes, wow, you know what? That's not me. I think I could have a great career in food service by maybe going at it a different way. I think the whole point is that we have choices. We all have different levels that we're willing to sacrifice. And if anybody, after the call, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I can definitely help you understand that there's a huge spectrum of jobs in this industry that, to be honest, there's something for everyone.
Mhm.
And there's something very competitive out there, and that might satisfy your hunger. And there's also something that could be even just a different pathways. So I think that's really important, right, Chef Beatty, is that we don't get in front of a room full of people and maybe even kind of like discourage them because they're like, wow, that all just sounds a little too intense.
Mhm.
We all got here at just a myriad of different avenues positioned us where we're at today talking on this call, and it's changed. And if anything, COVID really helped us take 2 steps back and say, hey, Dina, what's important to you right now? And for me, more than ever, it's about giving back and helping people understand that you can be anybody in this world and you can succeed in this industry, but you really do have to pay attention to what's important to you. Don't let anybody guide that path.
Understandable. Chef Kim, how about yourself? Bring us home on that.
Well, I have examples, right? So I remember talking with the chef who was engaged to his second wife to be, and the condition was she would have to be used to being at home by herself or with her girlfriends or the other family, and enjoying those holiday meals because he was a chef and he was going to be in the kitchen cooking. That was his bottom line. Then I remember being around other chefs who wanted to argue down that there was no way they could have weekends off or Friday night, Saturday night, and come back and do Sunday brunch. It just wasn't possible to have a rotating schedule so that one person was off. I said, well, the idea of cross training and giving, that work-life balance, which I think is so important, even before COVID, that you work and you work to live or you live to work. And I think that's always been my thing right there. Like I regret to this day that I broke my own little personal thing about I would never work 7 days for anybody, because if I got to work 7 days, something's not right, especially as a salaried employee. And so just knowing that, that I can manage a schedule, I can work it efficiently. I mean, I'll work all day if I need to work, but I'm going to take my day off because I need my rest. I mean, I can't continue to pour out of a cup that's empty, and I'll never forget I had an employee who called in at the beginning, just working and knocking it out the park. And she finally took a day off. She called off and called out sick, talking about she needed a mental health day. And I had never heard that before. I was like, I flipped out. I mean, and I'm talking like over 10 years ago before it was mental health day, but she took it and I understood it because we had been working, 12-hour days or longer, or she had. I'm working longer, right? And just nonstop, constant. It gets to a point where you just can't give. So you got to be able to rejuvenate, recharge. Like I said, the cup is empty. You have no more. You have no more to give. You got to have the time to rejuvenate and recharge and refill yourself so you can continue to be of service and give to others and give to that job. So work-life balance is key. Yeah, it has changed. There are a lot of people opening up their eyes. Having work shortages, lack of employees now is worldwide. I had the conversation when I was overseas, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's a worldwide problem, how we treat employees, how we retain and attract employees. And so if you can't offer some kind of work-life balance where every day you're not working, every holiday you're not working, every night, every weekend, whatever, you're not working, you got to make sure there's some kind of a rotation in there. You got to be giving some kind of incentive so that they can then also enjoy those holidays, be it in January or be it in December or whatever it is. It's got to be something that's got to change, that I think people are slowly realizing we can't do it. When I see restaurants that are now closing at 8 o'clock in the afternoon or evening, instead of being open to 10 or 11, that has to do with the employees, lack of them, or the fact that their employees don't want to work those 10, 12-hour, 13-hour days anymore on a regular basis. So it's happening. I mean, you're talking to the person who didn't even get married till they were 30, because I was just so into the career. Boom, boom, boom. Didn't have any kids till till later. And so, I understand the difference in the obligations that you put yourself through when you're working all the time, and it's mandated that you work all the time. Or you have a boss who schedules you to work a 14-hour day, 6 days a week. Like, it's crazy, but that's what happened. And so it's an education process for the person who's doing it. And also, if you're in the restaurant business, for the people that you are serving, that you can't necessarily get what you want for 10 o'clock at night in a restaurant setting, or 11 o'clock at night. People have been there since 10 o'clock in the morning. You just can't get it. It's not going to happen. Or rare does it happen. So it's an education process for everybody.
I love the that those jewels that if you're tuning in, I don't know if you picked that up on both ends, is that number one, you can't pour out of an empty cup from a personal standpoint, but also if you're employing or if you're responsible for team members, is that you have to offer that incentive for work-life balance. And so I don't know if you picked up in that, but I think that is critical. Those were some great gems that was in there. I know we do have a couple of questions from our audience. So Jackie, if you will let us know what those are.
Yes, Chef, thank you very much. One of the viewers has asked, after a crazy night on the line, how do you suggest that they wind down after a busy service?
That's a good one. Who would like to take that one?
I'll take that one, Chef. I used to love to dance. There's healthy habits at 11 o'clock at night, and there's unhealthy habits at 11 o'clock at night. And if there were any chef colleagues on this call who knew me when I was in my 20s, that they would be laughing, because we used to boogie. I got to tell you, we would get off of work, we would go back each to our respective apartments, we'd take a shower, get our dancing clothes on, and we would go and we would boogie. And that was a healthy way to, because you're oh my gosh, that adrenaline is pumping. You've just done 400 covers, and everybody feels that sense of like accomplishment, and everyone's you're amped up. And so I will have to say that thankfully I had a group of friends that chose some healthy habits to unwind after a busy night.
Chef Dina, I'm gonna drop you a jewel. Don't say boogie, because you're showing your age, okay?
You know what my spouse would say when I talk about being my age? She would say, "You made it, celebrate it." I am happy to talk about cassette tapes and CDs. I am not
Reel to
embarrassed.
reel.
I am not embarrassed. I made it. That's great. Thanks for the advice, Chef Beatty.
Along those lines, that's one of the things that I've become more cognizant of as I've gotten older in the industry, but I tried to be aware of even early on, is we all aspire to like that executive chef position or that director of a culinary school program, or you want to get to that top. But when you're in that moment where you're coming off of a service, whether lunch service, dinner service, breakfast, whatever, take those times to enjoy where you are in life. Like when I was an apprentice at Colonial Williamsburg, I did actually take some time to like walk the historic area of the streets there and enjoy the town for a minute. When I was with Ritz-Carlton in Mexico, I would like walk down the beaches and hang out and decompress in the pool in the back of my apartment complex. So those little things, live in the moment, because you're going to look back and, I mean, even for me in Mexico, I was like, oh yeah, that was yesterday. And Facebook always constantly reminds me of how time flies, because I'm getting notifications that says 7 years ago when you were in Mexico. And that's amazing. Like looking at that difference of timing. So live in the moment, enjoy it, surround yourself with good people, avoid the addicting habits that are, taking over our industry. Because especially, I mean, you do it once, oh, it sounds innocent, but then all of a sudden you find yourself going down a bad road. There was a show that came out recently on Hulu that I was watching a lot of people praise. And in my opinion, it actually exemplified the toxicity of some parts of the industry with the drug usage and overly drinking and things like that. So, have some fun with friends, like Chef Dina saying, do some dancing, do things like that, but
She said
Oh.
boogie. She didn't say dance. She said boogie.
Yeah. Do some boogie.
Yes, she did.
Okay, we
but
go
just
into
stay
the
away from
club
the
and it was
trouble
going
stuff.
down. How about that?
It was so much fun. It was so much fun, right, Chef Manning? I mean, to your point, it's like you have a choice. What do you want to do at midnight? You want to go and do things that you know are going to wear you down. And then I think it's a funny cycle too, because we complain sometimes when we're doing the job that, man, we're tired and these are long hours, yet for the few hours that we need to unwind, we're doing things that actually kind of perpetuate that unhealthy behavior. So easy to say, but if you can steer away from some of the behaviors that you know are just going to be kind of an energy drain on you, and do things that are a little bit more productive. See those signs, find cook and chef colleagues that support you instead of drain you. If you can do that, I think it's just, again, in life, that's a good practice. And I love that Chef Brock Brown mentioned, a self-care day. I also remember the first time a person that worked for me, a chef that worked for me, asked for a self-care day. And to Chef Manning's point earlier, look at how we learn from the people that we supervise or the people that we are, mentors to. It's like once he mentioned and explained to me what a self-care day was, I was like, oh, I want one of those, and it's like that's the whole point, is like no one is looking at, if you're me, to Chef Beatty's point about, chef, you're showing your age. Again, that was awesome. And he's right. Sometimes chefs are a little embarrassed about that, but me personally, I'm not, because I'm not a chef of my age who stopped learning. Like, I'm so energized by this conversation. I'm like bouncing out of my chair because listening to all of you talk, I'm learning stuff. And so to me, I think you're right. Like the lens is like, when you're a young chef, that's when you're supposed to be a sponge and learning. But we're all at any point in our lives, mentors and mentees, like at the same time. And that's really, really encouraging. So I'm going to stick with my BOOGIE with pride.
At National Convention, we got the dance floor on the final night, so we'll all be able to boogie together when you all show up.
Absolutely,
it's back. That's right.
Oh,
We're gonna do it.
Chef, would you like to add
I've always
anything?
kept a circle of friends that were not culinary. I mean, I've always have had a circle of friends or people that I hung out with that had nothing to do with my profession at all. So when they had activities and things going on, I was always able to, intertwine. So who's your circle of friends? You sometimes just want a whole break, refresh yourself, get away from it all, and then just make sure you keep in contact with other people to refresh and relax and relate and chill sometimes, So be it that book club group of friends, and maybe they got some activity going on over there, or be it the people, I play cards, so, there's always a card party going on somewhere, so maybe whatever it is, but there was always something happening that was not anything related to culinary and things that I did all day long that would make me unwind, relax, relate to other people, and that's also a great networking opportunity too, right? Because everybody's got to eat, no matter where you're going, what opportunity you're taking. Food is the one that binds us all, anywhere, whatever the organization is. So, somebody's always looking to eat. I need a chef. I got a function coming up, whatever. And you might know somebody. They might know somebody. If they know you, then, you got an opportunity right there. But I always kept a circle of friends who was outside of this area to help me relax and relate and see what's going on in my own neck of the woods.
I love it. Chef Isaac, give us some little tidbits on what you do quickly, because I know we do have a couple more questions. So go ahead and drop us.
Of course, kind of like Chef Dina said, I just listen to music, kind of jam out in my car on my way home, sing to myself or whatever, kind of get my mood up a little bit. If I'm a little down, that helps a lot. And then just having somebody, a friend or a family member that you could talk to, call up on the phone on the way home, just, tell them about their day, even if it's just not talking about your work, just talking about anything, having that person that you could talk to, I think really helps as well. And just like doing anything, if you do meditation, whatever you do, kind of get your mind off of work for a minute, and then you can kind of refresh and go into the next day, with the a fresh start and a good mindset. So I think that's super important.
I love it. Chef Jackie, was there a few more questions also in the chat?
Yes, Chef. One viewer has asked advice stating that they work in a busy hotel property. And what advice would you all give to a chef who's working in a role or for a department that's lacking leadership?
Oh, well, that's a good one. Chef Dina, you lit up on that one.
That's a good one.
You want to kick
That's
that
a
one
really
off?
good one. Yeah, I would love to. So yeah, for that participant, thanks for asking that question. It's clearly an important one. It's hard sometimes to find a really great leader around you that you might want to emulate or that you admire. Don't get discouraged, like sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but sometimes it's good to have people around you in leadership roles that you can step back and say, when it's my turn, I might not do it that way. So if you can, for a moment, spin this experience as a positive, because sometimes being around someone who's doing something that's kind of not working for you is an opportunity for you to really recognize, take an inventory of the things that are not working for you, because later, sooner than later, when you're a leader, you will remember how it feels to be in the presence of that leader that you feel like didn't always get it right. So be patient. I know it's really, really difficult. We tend to work very much in a team environment in this business. And so a leader that's not really motivating you can be very, very counterproductive, but stay positive and use it as an opportunity to learn what not to do. Because that's almost more valuable sometimes than being in the presence of a leader. I used to, just a quick example, when I was in culinary education as a chef educator, I was, initially like, wow, I can't believe how many times I've done a demo on making a proper hollandaise, right? And then you'd let the students you'd unleash them, all 28 of them, on making hollandaise, right? And every day, if you were really intentional, you'd see hollandaise broken, fixed, too many egg yolks, way too much acid, unsalted, salted, salty, not salty. And you'd realize how much you as the educator could learn from those 28 versions of that hollandaise. And being in a kitchen is the same way. Like, there's so many things you can learn from good examples and poor examples. So make a note, and when you're a leader, you'll be a better leader for these perhaps poor examples that have been provided to you from that leader that you have.
So she just gave a real high level, like HR approved version, but I'm gonna tell you what my daddy would say. He would say, eat the meat and throw away the bone. All right. So that's what she really was saying. All right. Go ahead.
No, I would think sometimes also, that you could take in certain ways and some opportunities a leadership position, or make the suggestion, well, chef, did you ever think about doing like blah, blah, blah? And, maybe in a suggestive way, to suggest maybe there's another way, or maybe, chef, can I take that and run with it, volunteer for the responsibility and take it off of that chef's hands, so that maybe, or if there's an executive sous chef, or I'm not sure what your position is, then maybe talk to that next person in it, and maybe you can then with that other person, because it can't be just you that feels that way, right? And so, a bad leader is a bad leader, and so if there's a sous chef, executive sous chef that's next in line to that chef, talk to them. But maybe, like I said, in a suggestive, open way to make the chef, how about we do it like this? And I will be happy to take the responsibility of blah, 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 and put it on you.
That's well spoken, Chef Kim. I'm listening to you talk, and that just, I think a marriage and also sometimes the work environment kind of go hand in hand. So I'm hearing you talk, and those relationships that you use even at home, they transfer to the work environment. So that's all I heard is relationships and how those work together. That's figuring out how you're going to decide where you're about to go eat at. I just, I mean, I don't know if y'all getting all these gems and these jewels that are like people are dropping. This is not all 100% work related. These are going to help your relationship. So let's go ahead and we got to get a chance to button this all up because time is going to get away from us. I want to go around the room real quick and give me 45 seconds from our panel. I'm going to start with you, Ryan, and I'm going to work my way around. Final advice for everyone that's been tuned in.
So I definitely love the show up and all of that, but my final piece is actually going to be more about ownership. So when you, one of my favorite things to tell my staffs in my kitchens now is a kitchen never lies. So we have two different types of French fries. When one of them is not being used, I can tell you're being lazy and you're just frying the one fry because it's still in the freezer. The other one's still in the freezer and it's not running through inventory. Same thing with cleanliness. If the kitchen has a stain on the wall, in the Ritz-Carlton, we used to call it new dirt and old dirt. New dirt is from today's service. Old dirt's where it's dried on the wall. So if I walk away from the kitchen, say I don't come back in the kitchen for an entire week, I can tell whether or not you've done your prep work. I can tell whether or not you've cleaned, whether or not you've done your home, basically your overriding homework. So run that through your entire life, whether you're still in school, doing your classes and everything. Just take ownership because you grow so much more when you take ownership than when you deflect and you try and blame someone else. At the end of the day, yes, there's a hierarchy structure, but own it as if you're the top of the hierarchy and you're going to go 10 times further. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. Chef Isaiah.
So I would definitely say don't be afraid to fail and step into uncomfortable positions. It's definitely super important. Another thing is always do the right thing, even when you're a chef may not looking. Don't take shortcuts because at the end of the day, it will come back to you. So make sure to do everything properly all the time. And like again, I said, don't be afraid to ask questions. Always seek advice and talk to those that are above you, below you, and stay humble and just always learn and grow.
Love it. Love it. Chef Dina?
I would say progress, not perfection. This is not about, trying to get the best paying job or getting to the role of being a chef or a director in the fastest way possible. This is about embracing all those little steps, to getting there, and journal your experience, write it down, take a bunch of photographs on your phone, because all those little memories and all those little learning opportunities, they create that fabric of who you are. I mean, every chef, panelist, and presenter on this call today, we remember, we just don't forget all the wonderful mentors we've had in our lives. And so every little micro experience creates who we are today. So they're all worth acknowledging. They're all worth your time. So just slow down. As long as you're making that little bit of progress, some years you're going to make giant leaps and other years you're going to take a couple steps back. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just stay true to your goals and work towards those baby steps.
I love it. Before I'm going to ask Chef Kim to bring us home, but obviously I've been moderating this and the panel has been phenomenal. If I was going to say anything about mentoring, it's going to be your only competition is your reflection in the mirror. I tell people that your identity as an individual is so crucial in the culinary environment, that we're all cooking chicken, we're all cooking beef, we're all cooking pasta, but stay true to yourself. I tell people that all the time, and you compete with you. Because then at that point, you're going to get your eye off of your real goal, and that's going to be your professional development. So your only competition is your reflection in the mirror. So as our leader, Chef Kim, bring us home.
Well, I like that you said professional development. And so I would say when we're networking and when we're mentoring, they're not always going to be in your culinary life, right? So it could be Toastmasters. I joined Toastmasters and I learned so much. I met new people. It's a whole another circle of things that help me and help my brand, right? Because it's always going to be about your brand. And so networking is key, to show up with the authentic self, to show up with an open mind, and not to be so clustered. A lot of times I see people and they're in the cluster with their best buddies all the time, and they never break out and they never go out and meet somebody else. They always go in the pack, right? So don't have the herd mentality. Go out there by yourself sometimes, or with somebody is fine too, but just always be open to new experiences, to meet new people, and then be someplace else that not necessarily maybe be culinary at that point in time. That doesn't mean it can't be culinary, but that you can be the one that brings culinary to it, right? So just be open to new experiences and new opportunities. Do something more than just cooking. It just makes you a better person.
Chef Jackie.
Well, thank you so much. A huge virtual round of applause as we thank all of our fabulous panelists and amazing moderator. I can assure you that the ACF is committed to continuing this conversation. We appreciate all of our chef guests taking the time out of their busy schedules to share advice and their enthusiasm for this topic with the students and professionals who are tuning in today. So thank you. We hope that you'll join us in New Orleans. We're heading to the Big Easy and you're all invited. Please save the date or register today for ACF National Convention, which will be held at the New Orleans Convention Center July 16th through 19th. And students, if you're tuning in and you want to volunteer or if you want more information about how to register, please reach out to us. You can direct message us on Instagram. Please follow us at ACFYCC on Instagram. And big shout out to Isaiah for all of his work on that page. We also hope to see you on the next ACF Chefs Forum webinar, which will be held January 4th as we cover a very important topic and we'll be sharing information on mental, physical, and emotional well-being resources for chefs and cooks. Happy holidays to all. And now we'll leave you with some final words of wisdom for emerging professionals from ACF's Young Chefs Club President, Isaiah's instructor, Chef Lars at CI Greystone. Thank you, everyone.
My name is Lars. I am the chef instructor here at the Culinary Institute in St. Helena, also known as the CIA in Napa. I have taught in a few culinary schools for the last 35 years, and I just want to give you a little advice. First of all, have a mentor. Know a chef by name. It can be a cuisine, it can be a style of cooking you really admire, but pick something early in your career so you can work on it and become stronger at it. Always remember, you're always a student. Even in my age, as I am today, I am still learning new things, I still learn new skills, and never go into that big first job and thinking, you know what, I already know that, I'm just gonna make it, I'm just gonna do it, and I'm not gonna even ask any questions. Ask questions, you learn something all the time. Don't work for money always. The first 5 years I worked in Copenhagen, Denmark, was not for money. It was actually for opportunities and skill. Work on skills, and when you get the big job, you won't get the money, but be smart first. So last, to wrap this up, I think that in our profession, you need to dress accordingly, be professional, look good, have the good jacket on, and when you make it one day, you can dress anywhere you want to. Have fun.